Heavy drivers to watch include Tony Stewart, who leads, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who runs second, and Jeff Gordon, who currently runs third. The drivers from 26th on back, beginning with Casey Mears, came on the pit road.
With these cars, Tony Stewart, Earnhardt Jr., Gordon, they just could not give up the track position they have to make a pit stop, because if they had pitted, then Casey Mears and those other cars would have stayed out.
Going to be a lot of battling for track position here this afternoon. The 11 of J.J. Yaley to the garage. Try to do some work on pit road. Now back to the garage.
And Newman down there looking under a bunch of guys. Under Nemechek. Trying to get a spot from Blaney.
Oh, wow.
A little contact there.
Just drove up on the inside of Blaney. But he didn't get that grip that he needed off turn 2. Try it again.
Drop the throttle forever down there, waiting for some grip before they get back on the gas.
At the top of the screen, you see the running order. The drivers highlighted in Nextel yellow are the 10 drivers in the chase for the Nextel Cups.
And you see him get underneath somebody in the corners, and you almost get side by side with them, but you need that outside part of the racetrack to keep your momentum to pull off the pass, and that's why it's so hard. You're actually better if your car works really strong getting off the corner, so you can get up next to somebody side by side going into the corner. You see Newman's working really good right in the center. He just can't get it far enough up the side of Blaney to make the pass. Marty, what are they saying about the 12?
Well, it's a general statement about the lower lane of the racetrack, Wally. Several teams, including Ryan Newman, are saying it's like driving on ice down there. Early on, hard to build up those tire temperatures, and you saw Ryan trying to pass Blaney on the low side, trying to do it again right here, and he slid up into him. Just can't get the grip on the bottom lane right now.
Exactly what Wally talked about in the pre-race, just how slick this track was going to be early on. After 50, 75 laps, then I think the guys will be able to get a grip from the bottom right to the very top.
Because you're going to have guys like Newman going to keep trying. Going to keep trying to lay some rubber down on that bottom side.
And if the rubber doesn't work, you might try the bumper, huh?
Here we go. Battle for second spot between Jeff Gordon at 24. He's in third. He wants that second spot that Earnhardt Jr. has in 8. And Earnhardt Jr. says, Jeff, go right ahead. We had that. We rode on the pickup together. We talked about it. We said we wouldn't. Just put words in her mouth, folks.
But it's a good story.
It's a fairy tale, but it sounds so fun.
So Jeff Gordon with a new crew chief this week, Steve Letarte. Dale Earnhardt Jr. reunited with Tony Eury Jr. Two drivers, two stars of the sport, not in the chase for the championship, but racing for the win.
You know, I talked to Steve Letarte this morning. He was talking to Ray Evernham, and come to find out that when he lived in Charlotte, at one time he was Ray Evernham's next door neighbor. That's how he went to work for Hendrick Motorsports. He mowed his grass. And now Ray's going to start mowing his grass.
Well, I think this change, if this works for Jeff Gordon and they put together, you know, string of good finishes, they're going to wish they made this change a little bit sooner.
Because it's working.
Because it's working, and all they needed was one decent run to get him in the chase.
That's a picture of Steve Letarte.
Marty?
Yeah, Bill, funny VP mentioned that story. I asked Ray about the same thing. I said, well, how'd he do cutting the grass? He said, you know, he actually did a pretty good job. And every time we elevated him, every position, he's done a great job. That's why I'm confident, Ray Evernham, speaking of Steve, that he will be an excellent crew chief for a long time in this business. Many people think this is just a temporary hire, but Steve and Jeff Gordon both say he's here for the long haul.
Been working on that pit box with Robbie Loomis throughout the season, grooming him for the crew chief position. Robbie Loomis will stay with Hendrick through the end of this season and then move back to Petty Enterprises. And we drop back in the field looking for some of the guys on the move. Greg Biffle moving forward big time, Dave.
And that car has a setup on it like no other, a winning setup from a guy who's won here before, a teammate that sits in the garage right now. Kurt Busch's setup is on this car, make Greg's car a lot better than it was when he had started this weekend, and that is what is helping drive this 16 to the front.
So Biffle running in 15th.
And about 3 positions behind Biffle is his teammate in the 99 car, Carl Edwards. Biffle has passed the 99 and put a couple of cars between himself and Carl. Alan, how about Carl Edwards?
Well, this race was a concern for Carl Denny. This week and next week at Dover, Carl feels like he has struggled on. Their goal for today, get a top 10 finish here, get a top 10 finish at Dover. Then when they get to some of the high speed race tracks like Charlotte and Atlanta and so on, they can start knocking on the door for some wins. So far, not too bad for Carl. He's moving up. And I'll tell you, that guy right there looks like he's slipping back. Mark Martin in the 6 car. Lost some spots here. Looks like Ricky Rudd is working the high side right now, trying to take that spot away. And then you got Brian Vickers in the 25 car, going to try to follow Ricky Rudd through.
Mark started 15th, is now back to 24th. And he said yesterday that's a setup very similar to what Kurt Busch has run here in the past.
Well, as a matter of fact, this 6 car is the same car that Kurt Busch used last Saturday night to win at Richmond.
Matt?
It's like he's at Talladega. All you're hearing is a spotter say, Eddie Pardue, clear high, you've got one on the outside. Now he's finally gotten in line. Now he just has no grip. What a number of drivers are fighting, especially after the oil down of the 97 of Busch and the oil dry they put down. He just says, I have no grip. We need to pit soon.
That's back in the garage where they continue to work on the car of Kurt Busch, taken out in a lap 3 crash after contact with Scott Riggs.
And the bad thing about this BP is they're going to work on this car as hard as they can. They're already 33 laps down, and they may not even gain a spot. They're going to have to go out and run, and they've gained a couple spots, but
They're going to gain one if they can get back on the racetrack. Wayne Anderson is back. And we see the 10 car very slow. Scott Riggs
Off the pace, yes.
off the pace. But Wayne Anderson is out of the race already, so if they can get the car back out, they'll at least pick up the 3 points.
Take a
See
look.
what happened to Scott Riggs. Oh, a little contact between he and the 7 car of Robbie Gordon.
So Riggs keeps it out of the wall. Tony Stewart continues to lead here. Kurt Busch had a top 10 in every chase race last year except one when he finished 42nd in Atlanta.